that's where my dad went. So he just signed me up, just like, hey, I know you want to play college soccer. I signed you up for Chico State's ID camp.
Your parents were super supportive?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. So you had no idea. He just signed you up. He's like, all right, I'm letting you know now.
Yeah, and it was after my freshman year of playing soccer.
Okay.
So pretty much that summer going into sophomore year, that's when you kind of need to start making those connections. Just saying, hey, I want to play college soccer.
Earlier, the better.
Yeah.
Yeah, just a commitment. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm going to be going to camps. I need to know what I need to do to get to that level. And the sooner, the better.
Yeah. So went there. I think the thing that was really challenging was I was like one of maybe 3 sophomores. Like everyone there was like seniors gonna, start their senior season at high school or transfer students from, JCs that are really like, okay, this is my last year to play college soccer. Right. I need to make an impact. So I kind of went in there just to, get the experience and kind of meet the coaches. Yeah. And, I was thankful enough to have a roommate that was, going to be a senior. And he was kind of telling me a lot about it. It was like, okay, Chico's one of my top schools. I'm really trying to play in the CCAA conference. And, I'm looking at these schools too. And I think he ended up playing at Cal State East Bay.
Oh, really?
So, yeah, if I remember correctly. But
good for him. So
he kind of had the idea of like, hey, I want to play in this conference.
Yeah.
And I actually did pretty well at that camp. At the very end, they have like kind of like a 11v11 all-star MVP choice that the coaches made, and I actually got to play in that, so that was pretty cool.
Nice.
And I think I went a little over my head at the time. I was like, okay, if that's D2, I can probably play D1. So afterwards, Cal Stanford's nearby. I went to a camp down at LMU. Where else? St. Mary's. I always went to St. Mary's, but it was like D1 or bus. That was kind of my mentality. And
where did you get that from?
And what I think I got it from was, growing up, you watch D1 sports like football, basketball. So you're kind of in the mindset of the quality in D1 is better than D2, which is not necessarily the truth.
It's not true.
Yeah.
Not true.
So I think that's where I kind of made my mistake. And also having teammates and other players I met, they were all shooting D1.
Yeah.
So I went to Chico State camp every summer. And then once after high school, my high school season going into spring, my senior season, that's when I kind of got the news of, St. Mary's, it's going to be more of a walk-on. So I was a little devastated.
And that came from the coaches?
It came from the coaches, yeah. So pretty much.
How did you find that out, or like how?
Yeah, so I think a big thing is when you go to these camps, you want to make sure to get their information. So I actually had his phone number as well as their email. So what they encourage is, if you really want to play for them, is you go to their camps and you actually go to the games. So luckily St. Mary's is really close. So I went to a lot of their games. And even, their in conference games, they would be playing, USF, which is not too far from where I grew up in. Sometimes they'll play Cal and Stanford, so I went to their games. But, having that contact and always like letting them know, like, hey, I'm going to this game. Hope we can talk. Hey, I'm going to be playing in this tournament. Hope we can talk.
So you'd email them and stuff?
Yeah. So I gave them like a whole list of my schedule. Like, hey, I'm going to be at this tournament this weekend. These are my games. I hope you can come watch and we can catch up. So
and they would respond to you and stuff?
Yeah. The head coach, he was a really nice guy. And then I also got to know a couple of the assistant coaches. So not only was it, I sent it to him, but to his 2 assistants as well.
Damn, you did it well.
That's so smart.
Yeah. So but the thing that was the issue was I only did them.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and kind of like what I mentioned was, I was only shooting for D1. And then once I kind of realized Stanford and Cal was like not only out of my scope for academics, but also playing because, as you've seen, like Stanford has done really well in the past couple of years for D1. So that's where I was kind of like, you know what? I should have probably gone for some, D2 or D3 schools. Just kind of, they probably have the subject I want to teach and I can, probably play soccer there. So eventually, I got the news about St. Mary's, really professional about it. Like, hey, I don't think, I have a spot for you. Can't sign your letter, but I think you getting admitted to the school. So I actually got into the school, which was awesome. But we would have to have you walk on. So, which is, it's kind of a chance. It's nothing guaranteed, but I think the thing that came down was, the expense of tuition there. It's really
super
high.
expensive.
Yeah. So I think that was kind of the ultimate factor was, okay, I'm not really sure if I'm going to play for the school, and let alone going to the school is going to be pretty expensive. And that's kind of when the panic kind of came in.
When was that?
I would say February of my senior year. Yeah. So I think the deadline's like May, right?
Something like
something like that.
So for what, signing for a team?
For signing, right?
I think they have until
the summer.
I signed late when I went to San Bruno.
Okay.
Super late.
Yeah. So, I mean, and the thing I think that kind of hit the panic button a little bit more was I was seeing teammates on my club team signing too. I had a teammate that went to West Point, Cornell, Point Loma. So, they're going to these big schools, and I was kind of like, oh my God, I want to play college soccer really bad. And, I'm missing the boat here. Yeah. So I kind of, whenever any school had some type of spring ID camp on the weekends, I just went. And one of them was Sonoma State. So luckily for me, the assistant coach at Sonoma State actually played college soccer with my head coach at Mustang. So that was kind of a little connection I had with them. Nice. So I went, did, really well. And, the coaches invited me back for an official visit. So skipped school for a Friday. That was pretty cool. So
that's like the best feeling ever, huh? Like getting an official, like, we'd like to invite you on a, you're just reading the email. You're like,
it was pretty cool. So did that, did the training with, the school team on, man, I want to say the training was at like 7 a.m., to like 9. I was like, oh my God, this is really early. So I did that. It went really well. And, ultimately Sonoma State said that, hey, we really like you, but we had all the spots filled up. But we saw that you got accepted, and I really think you can be on this team, with seasons to come. So it sounded a little bit more convincing than what St. Mary's kind of told me.
And the coach had told you that?
Yeah, it was the head coach and the assistant. So I kind of had the backing of both.
Okay.
And that's where I felt pretty confident of like, okay, Sonoma State. I thought the campus was gorgeous. So when I got the whole tour, and I was like, wow, this is a really cool school. Then I had my subject, and I firmly believed I had a good chance to play on the school team there. So that was kind of...
And it was cheaper than St. Mary's?
Yeah, a lot cheaper. Yeah.
It's way cheaper.
So...
when they told you that, was it after your official visit that they brought you into the office and told you all that? Or was it like a few weeks after? Or how'd that work?
It was a few weeks after, and it was through an email. And pretty much when I sent the email, they said... let us know. We understand if you want to go to a different school. The only school I was really considering was Menlo College, just because the head coach there actually played at my high school, and the assistant coach was my JV coach there. Gotcha. So, and they were actually giving me some scholarship money. But business wasn't really something I, was really passionate about going to the subject. And the school was a little too small for me. Menlo College is about like 900 students.
Yeah, it's pretty small. That's
super small. But I mean, the team was great. I don't want to disrespect their athletic program or anything, but it just didn't seem like a good fit for what I wanted to do. But yeah, he emailed me saying, hey, I understand if you want to go elsewhere, totally understandable. But if you do come to Sonoma, we want you to definitely try out in the fall. If someone's not, prepared, we'll cut them and you can hopefully take their spot, but you have to also be ready too. So it's nothing guaranteed. And then, we'll reevaluate in the springtime. And then, for other, seasons to come. So, and then, so I went to Sonoma State, spent, the first week before school started, doing the camp and the walk-on tryout. So
how was that? Cause I've never been in one of those, but I've heard about them. What is the experience like the first day? How are you feeling when you get there? What do they make you guys do?
Yeah. So, I was a little nervous, just because, you're going a week before everybody, and pretty much the only people on campus are athletes. So like the girls team was there, volleyball. Actually, I want to say even like basketball players were there too. It seemed like every athlete that played at Sonoma State were there early. And luckily some people that went to my official visit and the camp were there too. So pretty much what they told me is what the coach told me too. So I kind of realized, oh, I'm not the only one.
Oh, damn.
Yeah. So, and I can understand what they're coming from. It builds that competition.
Yeah, absolutely.
They want to make sure they don't overlook someone that could potentially play for the program.
Yeah,
so
for sure. Yeah.
luckily, one of them I was actually pretty close with, both at the camp and the visit. So when I found out he was going to be there, I was like, oh, we'll hang out and stuff. So him and I kind of talked about, what we saw at Sonoma and, this and that. And, we're both really excited to try to, be on the school team. But yeah, that was kind of like, oh, wow, if he's one of them, I wonder how many people are doing this too. So I came to find out there was about 10 of us.
Damn.
So yeah, that kind of kicked in. But the very first thing you do is kind of like a Cooper's test. You had to run a certain distance in a certain amount of time. And if you didn't make it, you were pretty much cut.
Damn.
Yeah, like right off the spot.
So you came into it in shape, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I have to say that summer, that was probably the best like soccer shape I was ever in. Like I would wake up at like 6 a.m., did some, running with actually a lot of my female friends that continue to play college soccer. They had their workout packets. So, and a lot of their workout packets, it was the coaches wanted them to play with guys. So pretty much we would do the workout packets together. And then in the afternoon, we do a lot of pickup. And so it was a good mix of like my guys from high school and club playing with the girls at my high school and club too. So it was really competitive. So, but from what their coaches said was having the physicality of guys playing with them and the speed will improve them, essentially. So it was nice to, be doing something, and keep in mind, these girls had a spot on the team. They signed their letter and, they're not really worried, but obviously, like I mentioned, nothing was guaranteed for me.
Absolutely.
Right. Still got to earn it.
Yeah. So, I worked pretty hard. I passed that, that run test, and I want to say I either finished like first or, top 5 in my group. So I was feeling really good.
Yeah.
Sweet.
But I didn't realize we had to go into training right after. So I just
so you're
gassed myself. Yeah.
Damn.
And
when you're doing it, are you doing it with like the team players?
Yeah.
The school team?
Yeah. Everyone's doing it.
So do you see that some of them are like pacing themselves?
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah. So it was just, so, and I was kind of in the mentality of, hey,
you want to make a good first impression.
I want to make a good impression.
Absolutely.
Like, okay,
Yeah,
if I finish in front of these guys that are guaranteed a spot on the team, I belong with them.
Absolutely.
And ultimately, we did double days for the rest of the week. And the way they cut people was they put a list on the office door of the coach's office. If your name was there, you kept playing.
Damn, that's old school.
Yeah. And if it wasn't there, you're done. So
God, I would hate that.
It's cutthroat.
Yeah. So my first time, I actually made it all the way to the last round. So it felt pretty good. Like, okay, if I was able to be part of the last round of cuts, I felt like I made a good choice for a school that I wasn't, guaranteed a spot for, but they had the ambition of me continuing on.
Did they tell you what it was that you didn't have?
They didn't really actually, they gave me some, some spots of like, hey, Sonoma State's playing style at the time was really, possession based.
Yeah, they're super technical.
Yeah, so they really want to play out of the back, and if your spacing's not right, the system breaks down.
Yeah.
And that's something both my club and my high school team. High school it's really boot and go, but club we did a lot possessive, but it wasn't the same tactical formation that Sonoma did. So I think that's what some areas I got kind of lost, and I think that might have hurt me at the time, but. Luckily when that happened, they still encouraged me to, come back in the spring and, the following fall too, to, try to be on the team.